morning, everyone. I welcome you all to another daily session as we prepare for the opportunities ahead of us. We are already 3 hours into the UK session and 4 hours into the US session, and this is the most time we need to make decisions in such a way that we prepare ourselves towards when the both sessions meet each other. So good morning once again, everyone. Good morning, house. So we shall be moving on to the charts where we'll be looking at what happened during the course of yesterday and what has been happening today. Friendly Muslima, good morning to you. Trunkton, good morning. As we can see what happened here, UKOil tested the support area, and I don't know if Khan took that opportunity of this uptrend as we are running in around 329 pips in profit at the moment. Good morning to you, Igbo. So that is that. GBP USD didn't go as expected. It hit my stop loss, and we saw price crash into 1.24224 area, and we're beginning to see another reversal setup forming where we might be looking for price to move into this demand zone where we might be looking for reversal setup to send price going to the downside. That's on GBP USD. We hit stop loss on this one. Then GBP CHF. Okay, GBP CHF. We break even on GBP CHF as price, and now we are back at the demand zone. We want to be looking for another opportunity to take advantage of that bullish momentum. So presently I'll be looking at buying the GBP CHF probably at somewhere around here, somewhere right above this area, and our stop loss will be shifted a little bit further down into this zone, into this last low. So we have we'll be having something like this. So that is, we have a stop loss of about, let me see, about 100 pips for a take profit target of 270 pips. That's like a ratio of 1 to 2.7. Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Beura. Good morning. Okay, it's good evening over there. All right, it's good morning here. So that is that. So what are we going to be looking at? Okay, then we had USDJPY. We looked at USDJPY yesterday, and that's I would like to share with you what happened as we saw that price came into the demand structure we're looking for. So let's do USDJPY this morning. Let's do this morning. So this is what I have here on structure, and at the moment I'm running with about we entered here the initial one like 30 pips. We have two positions running, after which I'm thinking of adding more position to this trade. And if you look at what has happened here, we can see that price came down to our buy opportunity zone that we identified on 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 Monday, and we saw price move into the buy opportunity zone, after which we saw the bullish momentum. The bullish momentum began after the completion of a reversal setup within that buy opportunity zone. So we can see we had a breakout of that bullish trend line, we had a retest, we had a trend continuation setup, and we might still be looking for an opportunity to go to the upside. So in that regard, I placed pending orders right at 130.492, 130.565, and 130.640. That's like 3 more positions to that trade, while I moved my stop loss of the previous one into entry point, where I'll be looking forward to a possible trend continuation as time goes by for the USDJPY. Bonjour Ramsey, good to have you around. So that is that on USDJPY. I'm still looking forward to a bullish momentum on USDJPY as expected, and let's see what happens between now and tomorrow in that regard. So we have a take profit target at 132, that's around 150 pips take profit target, and we have our stop loss at around let's place our stop loss right below, so we have stop loss around 45 pips thereabout. So that is that on USDJPY. I don't know if we have questions whatsoever we want to ask. All right, so in the absence of no questions, let's move on to XAUUSD. On XAUUSD, this is what we see. Okay, hold on a second, allow me to pull out another chart where I can actually explain what is happening from a new perspective. So this is what I see at this point. So the first thing for us we see on the daily time frame is that we had an impulse leg which moved from, on the 28th of January, we saw that impulse leg move into 2070 area before we saw the retracement phase that began in March move in phases in such a way that price moved into 1850 area before we start seeing a consolidation phase that might probably send price to the upside. I remember I said something about the impulse leg. I said after every impulse leg we will have a retracement phase, and that has happened, and we expect a retracement phase to fall within our golden zone, which is right between the 50 and 78.6% retracement of the impulse leg. So if we take our Fibonacci retracement tool and run it through the impulse leg, we'll see something like this. We saw that price is currently within that golden zone area, which is exactly at 618, between 618 and 786. So let's give this a green, because that will definitely be our new demand zone going forward. So there's a buy opportunity right within the demand zone. So that's what we have at this point. Now let me delete the retracement tool. It's done its job. So this is what we are having right now. We saw that price is right back in the buy opportunity zone, and then we want to be looking for ways through which we can take advantage of this bullish move. Now if we zoom out and look left, we can see that there is a trend line that we can relate with at this point. So if we bring out our line chart and run our the trend line, we will be having something like this. So we have something like this. Let's make it a little bit thicker. Good. And so we have something like this. So it is possible that we have price do a continuation to the downside where price comes into this trend line, rejects it, and find a reversal setup that will send price go to the upside. However, it is pertinent that we look into what structure is giving us lately. Now, to do that, we need to scroll down to a much lower time frame, let's say the 2 hours time frame, where we can actually look at what is really happening at this point in time. So right within the demand zone, and during the course of yesterday, we saw this bearish move. Then we saw a reversal pattern in the form of this. We saw reversal structure before that breakout of structure happened, and we have a retest into structure right at this point in time, where we are seeing also another reversal setup here, and looking forward to a trend continuation to the upside. Now, to give you a visual representation of what I've been talking about, the first thing I said I saw on the 2 hours time frame is this reversal pattern that you can see at this point. And if I pull this out, we have something like this. We have this reversal pattern already confirmed with the breakout that happened yesterday. We saw the breakout of structure at this point, so we'll be having our neckline of the reversal structure right at this area. So this is the neckline of the reversal structure we identified, and let's give this okay, I think this is good. At $1,870 we have a neckline structure, and you can see what happened following the breakout of that structure. We are seeing a retest into that structure, another reversal pattern forming, which looks more like an inverse head and shoulder, a breakout of structure which is still minimal, though it's a signal we can't consider, but still minimal at the moment. We are looking for a retest into structure before as a confirmation for a trend continuation to the upside. So what this means here is this: we have a reversal setup already formed at this point. You can see we have a reversal setup formed at this point as well, and then we have our neckline right at the top of 1875. We see we have a neckline here, and then we already witnessed the breakout this morning, which is also a signal. Give me a moment, let me label this. Another bullish signal aligning, bullish signal, aligning, and then for confirmation purpose we might be looking forward to a retest of this neckline, after which will be our confirmation to take a trade to the upside. So with this said, is price going to come down into this neckline? That's a big question. Now, if price does not come down, how do we want to take advantage? Well, we might be looking at taking advantage at the breakout of this top level, which we have an entry point right at 118.85, where we'll be looking for a continuation to the upside with a stop loss around 900 pips, and the take profit target will fall at where will that take profit target fall? Well, remember we had an impulse leg here, and then the take profit target will definitely be an extension of this impulse leg, which I'm looking forward to be around here. So to be more accurate, we'll use our Fibonacci extension tool and run it through the last impulse leg that our Fibonacci extension tool, and run it through the last impulse leg, and we'll see something like this, and we look at 1272.2 area as our take profit target. So we have 127.2 area, so let's just put it at 1925. That's $1,925 as our take profit target, which is approximately 4,000 pips. So this is what we'll be looking out for in the coming moments that's after this time. So one, like I said, a summary to what I've discussed so far, we are expecting price to come into structure, probably here or do something like this, after which you see a reversal setup that send price up, or price moves outrightly upward, retest into that level and send price to the upside. So we have two ways to this. If price comes down, then we might be having a privilege of adding one more position to this area. However, if that does not happen, then we look forward to this position at 1885 as our entry point at this point in time. So please, it's very pertinent that we remain conscious and we put other parameters into consideration before making a decision whatsoever. So I don't know if there are questions on XAU USD on gold so far. So in the absence of none, we'll want to move on to the next pair I'll be looking at, and that is on EURJPY. On EURJPY, I'm already in this trade, and sincerely speaking, I'm already, let me see, I have two positions running. We have one, I'm 72 pips in one, and the other one at the breakout of structure here, I entered and now 45. That's a total of 120 pips in profit. So I think this has gone too far, and I'm not sure we'll be having another opportunity to enter this trade. However, if we look closely into what is happening on the 2 hours time frame, I made mention of this bullish trend line, which will be our guide going forward, and it's very possible that we might be having a reversal setup around this area where we see price move into the trend line, and then we look for reversal setup that will send price going to the upside at this point. So what we'll be looking for, if you are not in this trade, you want to be looking for another opportunity where price comes into this trend line, and after which you look for a setup that supports a bullish momentum going to the upside. So I think that is that on EURJPY. And if we go to GBP New Zealand, on GBP New Zealand, I'm having a bearish setup from aligning before my highs at this point. So if we go up to the daily time frame, definitely allow me to bring up a new chart so we can have so we have something like this on the daily time frame where we saw this bearish impulse leg, very solid, and since the impulse leg began in February, we saw that price have been finding it difficult to push below 1.871 area. As immediately after testing 1.871 area, we began to see higher lows and higher highs. However, this looked more like a reversal setup to me. If you look at it, probably price will be going up from this area. But putting into consideration the long-term scenario we have here, which is very bearish, then we might be looking at a possibility that this move might be a retracement phase of the impulse leg we identified earlier. So if that is the case, after every impulse leg we expect a retracement into our golden zone area, which is around, if we bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool and we check what's happening, we have a retracement right around 786 and 50% retracement whatsoever. Oh, I think impulse leg will start right from this area. Yes, so we have 786 and 50% retracement. So since this is supply zone, we give it a red color. Okay, and I like to label this supply zone, label this as supply zone, and delete the retracement tool. And if you look closely into what has been happening since the beginning of March, we can see that as soon as price got into the 50% retracement of the impulse leg, we began to see rejections, multiple rejection that looks more like a double top structure, probably more going to evolve into head and shoulder pattern, after which we see a breakdown of structure sending price to the downside. However, it is pertinent that we don't ignore the fact that this can also be a breakout, can also be a reversal setup that will send price going to the upside. So to be on the safer side and to be more clearer on this, it is pertinent that we look for a key level we can work around with. So if we look left and pull out our line chart, we want to identify a key level right at an area where the support and resistance at one point in time merge. So if we look closely, we look left, we can see that we have something like this around 1.927 area, which okay, yes, 1.927 area, which shall be our key level at this point. So let's label this key level at 1.927, and let's put it right at the top. I'll make it a little bit visible. Good. So we have something like this as our key level, and if we look left, you can see we saw a rejection at this area, we saw a rejection at this area, a breakout of structure at this area, then we saw multiple rejection, we saw a breakdown, then multiple rejection in this area, we witnessed a breakout of structure on the mid-April, and then since that time we've been seeing a breakdown, multiple rejection of this area at this point. So this emphasizes the strength of that key level, as it has determined price movement, since if as soon as price touches or comes through that area. So in this regard, finding a supply zone around this area, which I see as a retracement of this impulse leg, then we will be looking for structures that will send us going to the downside. So to be on the safer side and to be more conscious in taking a position on this trade, it is advisable that we have a position right below the key level as an opportunity to take advantage of this bearish move if it finally happens. So if we scale down to a much lower time frame, let's say the 2-hour time frame, as we can see what's happening here on the 2 hours time frame, we can see that we have the first thing we'll notice is that we have a bullish trend line. If I bring out my line chart, we can see that there is a bullish trend line at this point, you can see, which was broken. Then we can even extend this bullish trend line to something like this. Sorry, I think this is better. So bringing out our candlestick pattern, we can see that we had a breakdown of the trend line here. You can see we had trend continuation here, trend continuation here, trend continuation here, but the expansion was not that strong. If you see what happened, expansion was not that strong compared to what we had here and what we had here. So it gives us a clue that the buyers are actually losing momentum, as we can see the breakdown of structure of that trend line here to meet up with this new trend line down below here. We saw a double bottom structure here where push price further up again. Then we saw another breakdown of that trend line, giving us a clue into the strength of the sellers at this point, as you can see the breakdown and retest of structure at that point. So going back to the idea we had on the daily time frame, we want to be using this key level as our yardstick going forward. And if you look closely into what happened since we had that breakdown, during the course of yesterday's trading session, we saw breaking down here, we saw a rejection of that trend line, we saw further breakdown to the downside, then price came back to this area and we saw multiple rejection of this key level, which I think will probably send price going to the downside. So to be on the safer side, I said we should have an entry point right below the structure where we'll be looking to take advantage of a bearish move if it finally happens. So in that regard, we're going to be having something like this. We have around 90 pips. We are around 90 pips, and then where will our take profit target be? Let's move to a much higher time frame where we can see things more clearly and decide where our take profit target will be at this point. So looking left, I want to use my impulse leg from this area, which has a structure in the past, and then using this, extending this move from the supply zone. And how do we do that? We use our Fibonacci extension tool and run it through that impulse leg, as we can see here. Then we'll be having 127.2% as our next take profit target. And if you look at this is almost like 800 pips thereabout. This is a long-term scenario, but we want to be looking for a short-term setup where we can quickly take our profit and leave the market as soon as possible. So to do that, we want to look for something very, very prompt. And if we look left, let's look for structures we can play around with to determine where our take profit target will be. So if we look left, we can see that we had a reversal structure around here. We had a reversal structure around here where we had a retest of structure and a break to the upside. So we want to be looking for a neckline around here that we can play with. So if we bring out our retracement tool, we could look at this area and see that we have structures. We have a resistance level here and we have a support level here, which is enough for us to think there is a possibility that if price comes back to this level, it could probably send price going to the upside, or we see a setup that supports a trend continuation to the downside. So bringing out our candlestick pattern and moving this close to the area, we have around let's say around 230 pips thereabout. So let's move this 896 around 220 to 30 pips thereabout, with a stop loss of around 90 pips. And mind you, it's still possible that we have a breakdown of this level we identify here, where we can actually, if possible, add more positions to our existing trade. So in that regard, this is what we have. Let me quickly make a summary on what our expectations are on this one. I said since we had a breakdown of trend line here on the 25th of April of this trend line, and this second trend line, we had a breakdown retest of this trend line during the course of yesterday and today. It's a sign that sellers are actually strong, as buyers appears to be losing the momentum that they have garnered over time. And if we look closely into what's happening on the 1 hour time frame, we can actually draw a trend line from this point that could also be our guide going forward. As you can see, we had a trend line here. Let's give a trend line red and let's make it a little bit thicker so we have a trend line right at that point that could be our guide going forward. So we have something like this. Price touched this trend line, rejected it, touched there, and increased expansion. Then we had another expansion here. Then price has come back into that trend line area with multiple rejection of that key level we see, which also shares a confluence with the trend line we've identified here. So we're looking forward to a move to the downside in that regard. So with this trend line here now, it's very likely, it's very, very possible that we can actually take a trade anytime soon, not waiting for this to trigger. We can move our entry to somewhere around here so that our stop loss will be around 80 pips thereabout. So we can look at something around this area that will be having around 250 pips approximately take profit target. So this is this on GBP New Zealand. I don't know if we have questions, you want to see clarifications or additions to what I've talked about so far. Okay, in the absence of none, let's move forward and see what we can do on other pairs. So on the EURJPY, what do we have on EURJPY? If you go to the daily time frame, for now we want to be selling the EURJPY and we want to be looking for setups that will support that. And if we look left, we see what is happening since in the later part of last year. We can see that we have structures that align with this. We have a bearish trend line. So if we are going to sell, then we want to be looking for price to come into this trend line, where we'll be looking for an opportunity to sell this trade, and with a key level around here, around 1.41800, that might be a yardstick for us to sell the EURJPY. But for now, I don't have anything here to talk about, as I look forward to. We just hold on and see. Oh, you are welcome, Lesica. You're welcome. So that is that on EURJPY. So moving on to USDCAD, what do we have on USDCAD? Let's move in closely to see what is happening right now at this point. So for me personally, I actually took a trade on USDCAD on Tuesday, I guess, and we had this move down. We had this bearish move down to around 97 pips before price came back into our entry point, thereby taking us out. So however, if we look closely into what is happening on the USDCAD, let's have a new look at what is happening on the USDCAD. So I'll remove all the drawings and let's have a fresh look on what's happening on the USDCAD. So going to the daily time frame, the first thing we'll notice on the daily time frame is this. There is a supply zone, which is here. We can see that there is a supply zone here. And what do we mean by it being a supply zone? First of all, let us label this supply zone. Give me a moment, please. We have, let's make it red, and then we have it right in between. So good. So we have a supply zone. Why do we call this a supply zone? You can see that every single time price comes into that 1.29 area, we continue to see multiple rejection of this area over time, and this happened through the span of, let's say, 6 to 7 months thereabout. And right now in the month of May, we also have this rejection of that same area at this point. So with this setup, definitely we want to be looking for selling opportunities at this point, despite the fact that we have an uptrend situation where we have a trend line that goes in like this. We can see that every time price comes into this trend line, the expansion is not as huge as the one we saw at this point. So we see that the expansion keeps reducing as buyers come out of that bullish trend line. The expansion reduces. So what does that tell us? It tells us that the buyers are probably losing momentum as time goes by. So considering what has happened in the past, that as soon as price comes into this zone, we continue to see rejection of that area, sending price going to the downside. Definitely with this information in hand, we want to be looking for selling opportunities at this point. So if we scale down to a much lower time frame, let's say the 1 hour time frame, for instance, and we go zoom in closely to see what structures we're having. the first thing you'll notice is that we can identify a bearish trend line in this regard. So if we spool out our line chart with our, we can see that we have something like this. That's the first thing we will notice on the 1 hour time frame. That is, we've been having, we have setups that keeps on respecting this trend line. As you can see, this, we saw that we had this, though this one did not get to the trend line. Then we had a multiple rejection at this point, which looks more like a double top structure. So, and if you know what a double top structure is a strong reversal pattern that insinuates a potential that price might be going to the downside. And so with this double top structure we identified there, we might be looking for a breakdown of structure, which is the neckline, and then a retest, after which we can continue to the downside. So now that we have this information in hand, how do we take advantage of this bearish move if it finally happens? So the first thing we want to do, next thing we want to be doing here is we want to identify a key level. And what is our key level? The key level is an area where we see at one point in time in the past where price shares a confluence, the support level shares a confluence with the resistance level at one point in time in the past. So if we look closely to the left hand side, as we spool out our line chart, we will notice that at this point there is, like, I think 28350 thereabout, we had an area where price at one point became a support and at the same time became a resistance at one point in time. So if we look closely, let me draw this out a little bit and then give it a golden color. Our key level is always golden because it's very, very important. So what's our key level now? We have it at 1.28350. So we'll label this key level at 1.23850. Good. So let's place this at the top, or let's place it at the right hand side at the top, and let's give it a gold color, and there we go. So with the structure we're having right now, our key level is also going to be our guide going forward for bearish momentum. And at the same time, if you look at what is happening here, after you see, after this impulse leg we had here, we saw something that looks more like a reversal setup in the form of an head and shoulder pattern, and then this area will definitely be our neckline going forward. So that's the neckline of the reversal pattern we just identified, and then a signal will be expected at the breakdown of structure with confirmation at a retest of structure to send price crashing to the downside. So with this information in hand, where do we want to enter our trade? So if we look left, we want to enter our trade. Like I said earlier, we want to be using the key level, which is also the neckline of the reversal pattern we've identified earlier. We want to be entering our trade right below this key level, and anywhere above the key level is not advisable and not reasonable for us to do. So with our key level here, we want to be entering our trade right below the key level at 1.28195. So this is where I'll be looking forward to entering my trade, and we'll have something like this. We have a position size like this with a stop loss of around 40 pips. Then if we finally see a breakdown of the structure and we see a retest whatsoever, we might be adding more position to this trade, so after which we could be seeing price going to the downside. So what's our take profit target at this point? Well, if we look left, we can see that we have a demand zone around here, where we saw that as soon as price comes into this area, we saw rejection by buyers pushing price to the upside. So this is probably a temporary demand zone. So let's give it a name. Let's label it temporary demand zone. and then we give it a green, put it right inside at the center. Let's make it a little bit. So we will have a temporary demand zone around here. So the first thing we'll be looking at, we might be looking for a 95 pips move. Let's see, okay, approximately 100 pips move, where as price moves further down, we want to be moving our stop loss to lock in our profit as price goes down. So what we'll be doing here is that's the first take profit target they're about in the meantime. And if you go back to the long-term scenario we're having, we might be having a situation where price comes back into this trend line one more time. So for now, let's keep our fingers crossed and let's maintain this bias for now. And if price probably comes down and break this demand zone, then we might be looking forward to a retest of structure to add more position to this trade. So with this being said, let's hold on to our setup here, the scenario we have here at this moment, and let's see how price reacts as time goes by. So I don't know if there are any question whatsoever in this regard. So if there are none, maybe we'll have to move on to the next one. Oh, Khan is talking about UKOil one more time again. Khan, did you take advantage of the UKOil yesterday? Because we saw a retest of structure during the course of yesterday's trading session. So I don't know if you took advantage of that bullish move that happened. Did you? Did you, Khan? Let's look at UKOil. So yesterday we had the structure on UKOil. I don't know if you took advantage of it. We said we have the structure here on UK. I think we did our session around this time when price was going up. We did our session around this time when price was going up. And I said if we have a retest of structure, it will be a good advantage for us to take that trade. So we had a one, then we had a rejection, which confirms a reversal pattern, then a breakout of structure happened at this point. I don't know if you took advantage of this trade, Can. So, and the way things are going now, it's likely price will continue to go to the upside. As I can see, in the last 2 hours we had strong bullish engulfing candle, and we also have a structure here as well that we can also play around with on the 1 hour time frame, which is if I pull out my line chart, let's see, we have a structure around here as well that we can play around with at this point. Going back to my candlestick pattern, so we have a structure we can also play around with. And if we look closely, we look left, we can see that we have what we call a bullish trend line that looks more like this. We have one here, a bullish trend line is green. Then we have another one from this area. You can see the bullish trend line keeps expanding. I'll make this a little bit so we have another one here, and we have another one from this area. We have another one here. So we have 3 trend lines already. We have a major one, and we have this one, and we have this temporary one. So this is what it's going to be looking like. So there is a possibility that price will crash down into the zone, after which we see a continue to the upside, or probably price goes a little bit further down before we start seeing reversal setup that goes to the upside. So in this regard, personally, I'm not going to do anything on this one unless I see a breakout of the structure, a retest into structure which also aligns with the trend line. Then I can be looking forward to an advantage in the bullish momentum. So that's that on UKOil. What did we see on USDJPY? Well, BTC USD on the BTC USD, there was a time I did a video on the BTC USD where we are not yet sure what's going to happen on BTC USD. But the first thing we noticed was that we had a bullish trend line here, and now we already have a breakdown of that bullish trend line at this point. At this point is a very critical level where we saw this bearish impulse leg, and we saw multiple rejection of this trend line. So now we don't know if this is a false breakout or a signal that we might be going down. So a confirmation of this might probably happen at a retest of this trend line, after which we might see a confirmation in the form of a bearish move. However, to guide our actions from this point, we actually need to find a key level we can play around with that will also be our yardstick into taking any opportunity on this trade. So if we look left with our line chart, we have something like this. Okay, we have a key level right around this area. That's around $37,800, and our key level is always in orange. That's it. So let's label this key level at $37,800. So we have it gold. Let's put it at the bottom. Okay, so we have a key level right there, which also has a key level there. And then another thing we need to understand is that we're still within a demand zone that has been holding since the beginning of the year. And if we look left, we can see that we have a demand structure around this area. Hold on a second. We have a demand zone around this area. Let's place it right inside. I think, okay, let's put this at the top. It's obstructing. So we have a key level at 7,800. We have a demand zone right in between this place. So for me personally, it's not advisable we just jump into the sell, because we saw a bearish engulfing candle, and today we can see that it's looking more of a sell for today. But in the short term, you can actually take a short-term sell opportunity. But looking at it from a long-term perspective, we are still in a demand zone. And if we look left, we can see that this demand zone area has a confluence that spans over 2 years now. I think since January 2021, we can see structures here. We can see structures here. As soon as price comes into this area, we saw that there was tendency of bullish momentum from this area, as we can see in the past. So what I want to be doing at this point is we might be looking out for structures where we see a reversal pattern in whatever way it comes out, a breakout of structure, a retest of structure, after which we look to the upside. However, that being said, if we see a breakdown of this demand zone in the nearest future, then definitely we want to be selling this at a retest, which will be our confirmation to the downtrend. But that being said, considering the fact that we are in a demand zone, I'm still holding a bullish bias and a long-term scenario for this one. So I think I've answered your question in regards to the BTC USD. Drago, I think I've done justice to that. Let's see how price reacts as we monitor what's happening within that demand zone that we identified on the daily time frame. So I think we have 2 more minutes left for time to lapse. And what did we talk about today? We talked about XAU USD, where I said we'll be on the 1 hour time frame is where our opportunity lies, and we said, oh, we already triggered, the position's already triggered here now, and we're expecting price to take profit at 1925. That's $1,125. And like I also said something, I said there is a possibility that price comes down into the key level we identified and the neckline of the reversal structure, the second reversal structure we identified, which also shares a confluence with the bullish trend line, where we could probably see another opportunity to add to the existing position. So that is that on XAUSD. And I talked about EURJPY. I said EURJPY, I'm already in that trade already, and if we intend taking advantage of this trade, we might be looking forward to a retest. The price action comes back into that bullish trend line, and we'll see how price goes back to the upside, or price comes into the key level of this place, then we'll be looking forward to a trend continuation to the upside. So I'm bullish on EURJPY as well. And then on GBP New Zealand, I said we are looking for bearish momentum on the GBP New Zealand, where we explained that the bearish trend line on the 1 hour time frame shall be our guide, including the bearish trend line and the key level identified on the 1 hour time frame shall be our guide going forward, as anything above the key level is not on our side, and anything up below the key level and below the trend line is what we'll be looking out for, with an entry level at 92185 and 92267. We will be looking forward to a take profit target for about 220 pips. So that is that on GBP New Zealand. Then we move forward to USDJPY, where I'm looking for an uptrend continuation on GBP on USDJPY. So now we have price coming back into our trend line zone at this point. Sorry, we have price coming back into our trend line zone, and then we might be seeing scenarios where you can add more positions to this trade. As you can see, we can have something like this to the upside. However, there is still a possibility that this trend line, this bearish trend line here, could also be a guide going forward, as a possible rejection of this line could actually send price going to the upside. So we really need not be worried about this bearish move, as we'll still need to look out for structures that will guide us. And in that regard, this key level at 130.150 shall be our guide, as anywhere below that key level will definitely negate the setup we've already projected at this point. So hold on to your 130.150 as your guide, and the bullish trend line we identify as a guide to push price to the upside. Then on EURCAD, I said I don't have anything on EURCAD yet. I think I said that. Let me see. Yes, okay. I said for me to take anything on EURCAD, I will be waiting. I want to be taking a sell opportunity on EURCAD if any opportunity comes up, and I'll be waiting for price to come into this key level, which also aligns with that bearish trend line for me to take advantage of any trade on that one. And on USDCAD, lastly, we said we want to be going bearish based on the fact that we have a supply zone right on the daily time frame, which we identify between 1.28350 and 1.29500. And because when we scale down to a much lower time frame, the 1 hour time frame, we saw a double top structure look alike, a neckline that will be our guide, and we are looking forward to taking advantage of this trade at below this key level going forward, and we take profit target at this temporary demand zone that we identified here. And we spoke on BTC USD, which I talked about last, and I said I still have a bullish bias for the BTC in the long-term scenario. So with that being said, I don't know if there are questions you might want to ask or clarifications whatsoever. Okay, cheers to you. 81067610. Okay. Okay. Yes, The USDJPY is dropping nicely. Mozen, yes, it's dropping, but I'm still holding a bullish bias on this one. We can't um, allow a scenario that just happened within an hour or two to change our perspective or our bias whatsoever until we see signals that confirms that a bearish momentum is non-negotiable. Then we can actually move in and take a sell opportunity on USDJPY. But for now, I'm still holding a bearish bias on that. So thank you everyone. I do hope you had a wonderful session with me. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to what tomorrow, the later part of the day and tomorrow morning will bring before for us. So thank you very much. And on this note, I wish you best of luck today and do have a wonderful day. Bye.